Hey everyone, welcome back. Are you melting yet, Andrea?
It's very hot. But at least where I'm at, it's dry heat. You all out there in Oklahoma, it's real,
we do that human stuff.
That real humid out there.
Step outside, there's no makeup on. There's no. Your hair just frizzes.
Mm-hmm. And, I have a perm. When I visit you this time of year, I get a perm. I get off the plane and it's like.
And this is the cool part of summer. So that's a little scary because July and August is when you actually die. You find out if you can die from being hot to being set on hell outside in Oklahoma in July and August. But it's okay. Good times. We're going to have big celebrations this year, though. I'm so excited about the 250th of America. Everything that we fight is because we have the ability to, because we have the greatest country that's ever been. And it's such an honor to be able to live in this time in history, to live in this country. And this country is founded on we the people, and we have the power when we decide to enact it. And that's what the Freedom Brigades are about. It's really exciting.
Amen.
Some of my favorite brigades are over in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Chet Jack has stepped in the last couple of years and been a huge part of that. I want to talk about, will you bring Chet on?
Yeah, let's bring in Chet. He's my fave. He's my favorite patriot.
Amazing. Hey,
Howdy,
Chet.
guys. How are you all?
How are you?
Good.
So
it's a wonderful day here in Butler County.
What now? What kind of weather are you guys having? Are you melting yet, or are you just kind of like, this ain't too bad?
It's been warm. It's been 80-ish, but usually the humidity gets kind of bad here, but it hasn't been quite that bad, so it's tolerable.
Sure. My mother grew up, I don't know that all the times that I've talked to you that I didn't, but we have my family, my mother grew up in Pottstown.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know if I'd ever mentioned that. We used to go to Pennsylvania to go visit cousins and aunts and uncles in Pittsburgh and stuff when I was a kid. I liked that area quite a bit. But anyway, you are stirring the pot in Pennsylvania. Tell us what you're up to and what's going on over there.
Well, we had a really interesting PA House of Representatives race in our district. It got quite a bit of attention in Harrisburg, and it's about to get some attention nationally. Let me tell you just a little bit about the 12th district, just a little bit of history, because the rest of it will make more sense if I explain it to you. So the 12th PA House of Representatives district is located in the southwest portion of Butler County, which is adjacent to Allegheny County. Allegheny County is where Pittsburgh is. Okay. At one point, Butler was very rural. It had a population center in the city of Butler, PA, which is in the center of the county and the surrounding areas. And there was a lot of manufacturing there and a good sized population. And it's basically the center of all political power as well. And the rest of it was just countryside. Well, over time, Allegheny County started going crazy with their taxes and with their policies, and people started escaping. And they began migrating up to the southwest portion of Butler County, which is just right across the border from Allegheny. And so now the whole dynamic of the county is shifting. To where the population center no longer is in the center by Butler City. It's on the area adjacent to Allegheny County. Okay, and so what's happened is that there's been a lot of struggling going on. The established powers in Butler County don't really want to cede their power. Okay, and they're trying to hold on to it. And so you have this newly formulated area of, it's relatively high. You've had a situation where a big rural area has turned into a big suburban area, and the suburban people work in high paying jobs in Pittsburgh. So there's a lot of money there. Now, families have moved up here and they've been preoccupied with commutes and soccer and all that. But as these families get older and they've been living here 20 years or so. Their kids grow up, and now all of a sudden, people are having more time on their hands to start paying attention to politics. And as they try to get into politics, they're getting shut out by this little cabal, that's in Butler. So there's been some tension. There's been committee fights and all that type of stuff going on. But slowly, the southwestern portion of the county, the Republican committee, they're starting to gel, and it's starting to get some people that are really working hard. So that just gives you a little bit of history. There's some tension in the county, and a lot of it's based on where you're located in the county and how long you've been here.
And the established power does not want really what's best for the county. They want to hold on to their position and pride.
They make the kings, and they want to continue making the kings.
Correct.
And the folks in other parts of the county are starting to say, well, we should have a say, particularly in our own district, on what candidates we run. And so in this most recent election, we had a state representative who represented District 12, and she had run into some personal problems and decided that, and she was trying to decide whether or not she's going to run again. Okay, and so that takes us up to like a week before the primary. She still hadn't made her mind up. So a lot of the folks in this area, we're starting to get a little bit nervous. It's like, are we going to even have a rep in the primary? Unbeknownst to us, the establishment already either they had known that she wasn't going to run, or they were anticipating it, and they had gone and basically anointed someone, and they fully backed them. And this is without talking to any of the committee people in our district. They had gotten endorsements for this guy from everyone, from the state, the lady who's running for the state governorship, on down. They had gotten funding for this guy, like hundreds of thousands of dollars of funding. Hadn't had a conversation with any of us. So we're 2 days before the primary signing, for the whatever you need to sign petitions to get on the primary ballot, and we still don't know whether we hadn't even heard about this other candidate that they were going to promote, and we didn't know whether or not our existing candidate was going to run.
Let me ask you, so is it customary? Is it just customary, or is it in your rules that they run it through the committee first?
There's a little group of people off to the side of the committee that kind of make these decisions, and it kind of gets
sure, right? That's everywhere, but I mean, technically, they're supposed to go through the committee if things were being done righteously.
Right. Yeah. If they were going to do an endorsement and stuff like that, but there wasn't going to be an endorsement. This was all going to be a done deal before anyone knew about it.
Right. That's how they operate. Okay.
Yeah. And so, that left us a couple of days to find somebody who was viable, that, was willing to run, could get petitions, and could get a campaign pulled together. It's not a lot of time. Well, as it turns out, we happen to have this fellow named Captain Scott Timko here, and that's a great name. He's a former military aviator, combat veteran, current commercial pilot. He's run twice before against the establishment and been defeated. And so we called Captain Scott up, and he said, I got another run left in me. And so and the guy's a great patriot and all that. And, we said, okay, let's do this.
Captain Scott Timko. Now that sounds like a fun guy.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. Just a name makes dudes.
We're thinking about making a cartoon out of this, for
Let's do that
for future elections. He's a guy that he served the country his whole life. True patriot, true conservative. Okay. Now the fellow that the establishment had selected, nice enough guy, very successful guy. He runs a networking business in the tri-state area, so he's very well connected. And so like I said, they got him all kinds of endorsements. He was walking in the door with a lot of out-of-county donations, which kind of bothered me a little bit. It's like, who's he going to represent on the legislature? Is he going to represent the people of Butler County? Or is he going to be representing the people of Allegheny County? Or he even had donations from Philadelphia. And they'd also lined up a lot of money from some of the big funding organizations as well. And they were telling us we're all crazy, that, Captain Scott's a loser. He's lost twice before. They don't mention that they'd stacked the deck against him in those cases.
Right.
But anyway, so there was a few of us that just said, we need to support this guy and we need to do this. And so, we got a small team of people together. We started, we had, people door knocking, and we had, people making phone calls. The way that, so Scott's campaign was mostly self-financed, whereas his opponent had more than, the estimates are more than 5 times the amount of money. So the establishment candidate had to sign up like every 10 feet, it seemed, whereas Scott, he was spending his own money, and he strategically placed his signs. And, people noticed that, I think. Here's this fellow spending all this other people's money and just wasting it. And here's Scott Timko being responsible, with his. And then the message, with the mailers, this the establishment candidate was sending out mailers every day. And they were all, I don't know if you have cold spark out where you guys are, but they're written in the language that these consulting firms use, which is very neutral language and says nothing, Whereas with Scott's messaging, he was very strategic in the way that he timed his mailers going out, and they actually said something. They actually said what he was about. They didn't try to tiptoe.
The Patriots, I think the American people are waking up, right? We've been saying for a couple of years, guys, the game has changed, and the political establishment hasn't figured it out yet. But people are paying attention where your money is coming from. They are paying attention. They know that if they're getting a mailer every single day, that this person is well funded, and that is at the very least a red flag. And they're paying attention to all of that. They're realizing when you're saying a bunch of things but yet saying nothing, you're just using a bunch of words.
Right.
The American people are waking up. The game is absolutely changing.
Yeah. And I think that's certainly true. Where I am now, especially as this population center of the county starts to mature, and you've got more people now that have the time to pay attention to politics. But like I said, we didn't have a large team. He was bringing in people from out of county, to knock doors, and he had this large team assembled. He had some Democrats working for him. They were out trying to sell his message. So how would this guy have governed? Once he got into Harrisburg, he had this networking business that half of his people were on the left and from Allegheny County, and half on the right. How's he going to legislate? Is he going to tank his business by going one way or the other? No, right. He's going to thread the needle and walk the line, and you end up with an empty suit. Yeah. And I don't mean to knock the guy, because I think he has a lot of talent.
Happening across the country.
Yeah.
We've got to pay attention, and that is, I believe people are. What you're saying is not just in your race. This is happening all over the country. Yeah. Your words are ringing true for, I believe, every patriot, whether they're in your county or not.
Well, the grassroots, we're seeing here and there. I mean, we see it with what Charity has done and her incredible team in Oklahoma, but we're seeing it on a national scale where grassroots, not well-funded candidates are breaking through and having success. And like you said, there's a lot of it. On my side of the political consulting world, I always want to be a disruptor. I always go, okay, like what you guys are saying, if they've got a ton of money, like Charity and I have, published things on her Substack about rhino hunting. And I say, okay, there's carpetbaggers. Like you've hinted on the carpetbagging to a degree. It's like, even if they live in the county, do they care about the county? Right. Yeah. But we get people that literally move to grab seats. And you're talking on a county level, not just a state level, but it's important that you actually care about your constituents, your constituents, and you know what they care about. And a lot of these candidates don't. So it's like, We have the carpetbagging going on. And then like what you're saying, I hate when they say you've got to have $7 million or you're not going to win. It's like now with all the way the technology is and the way people process information, the way you get in front of an audience, we can do it for like 1/10 of the cost. And so, no, I don't think the person has to have a big war chest. And like you said, of money from outside my community, that's a red flag where I'm not going to vote for him. I'm actually going to vote for the new face who's a true patriot, who stands on principles, who stands on something. When I ask him a hard question, he's not afraid to answer it. And the guy with the less money is usually a lot more attractive to me than the guy. And like you said, you've got the patriot who's been in the military. And I love military patriots because they've been public servants. They've been serving us. And, their perspective, I think, is something I would value more than, like you said, a guy who's got this company. He's going to make sure he protects the bottom line of his company. And so he can't stand on anything. So like you said, you got this vanilla candidate. But it's funny. I remember telling my grandmother, whoever sends those big fancy mailers in the mail, I usually don't like, because I'm like, I don't want junk in my mail. Like, you can do a video, you can go on a podcast, you can do a town hall, you can call me. You don't need to be sending me $1 million mailers, right?
Yeah, I don't even read those. I used to throw them out. What I do now is I have a little folder sitting over there that I put them in, just because if it's an opposition candidate, it's good to have it for reference in the future. But it's the only thing I'm going to use that for is something negative. There's some other great lies that get told, by the establishment. And that is, if you have a good conservative candidate, they will look you in the face and say, yeah, but they can't win in the general election. That's I don't know how many times I've heard that one. And I used to some degree buy off on it and figure, well, these people know more than I do about this. And they don't. What it means is you have a candidate that they can't control.
That's right.
Because they're an independent, thinker, and they're probably a patriot. So just kind of crazy. But
so, how much did your captain win by? I got to know. How did this?
It was a few percent. It was.
But he won.
It was the first time that establishment in this county has been beaten. It's an inflection point. Can they be beaten throughout the entire county? Maybe not yet. But we're on the trajectory. Things have finally shifted.
Yes.
And now that, a lot of people were coming up to me saying, why are you supporting Scott? You can't win. You're going to make more enemies. Like, well, I already got a lot of enemies. And I don't really care if people like me or not.
Like that list, right?
Yeah, it's like that's a pretty big club, So
right.
They'll have company. But and it was kind of funny because we got like about a week out, and one of the guys that called me that was saying, you guess maybe you should be supporting him. Called me, he goes, you know what? I think you're right. I think this guy stands a chance. And it was just, it was a small number of people, making the phone calls. My favorite one was this lady named Pat Sterling. Pat's nearly 80 years old. Okay. And so I was getting an email from her just about every day. And Pat was saying, Chet, I just about finished that walking list you gave me for whatever town, for Evans City. She goes, could you give me another one? I'm going to go out again tomorrow. She goes, give me Harmony this time. And she goes, this time I think we're going to be better off if we go with high propensity voters that voted 2 of the 4 last primaries. So she's telling me how to give her the data and stuff like that too, because she's so aware of the community and knowing what the composition is. And so she'd go out, knock on doors. I get an email the next day, 80, like almost 80 years old. I'm doing that. And that's what got Captain Timko, over the finish line.
Yeah.
Did I send you the picture of the front page of the Butler Eagle newspaper?
You know what? You did, and I forgot to have it ready. Do you have it where you can show us?
Let's see. I don't know if I can get it off my wall. Let me see.
Off my wall. I love that.
I love that.
It's right up there next to Jesus and
I love that. Hold on.
Well, I mean, stories like this are giving people a lot of hope because we're fighting that apathy. I mean, we're seeing, like what happened yesterday. I don't even want to talk about it. I was fired up. I was angry. I went live and then I even deleted the video. There it is. He's showing it.
Were you able to see that? You see that funny looking guy with a red and white shirt on? That's me.
Yeah, I
Okay,
love it.
and that's
Oh, I love
Captain Scott Timko right next to me, and
Good
that's
job.
at this point, we were kind of in our little war room, watching returns, because here they come in, precinct by precinct,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and so we were watching them. By that point, we knew from early on, because we had done a very good job with we have mail-in ballots here,
Yeah.
and so we had chased those. And
Yeah.
we knew whenever we had won the ballot chase, that's the first number that gets released. We knew that we were in good shape,
Good.
because
That's awesome.
that's the hardest thing for a small team to do. That usually
Yeah.
takes.
I mean, my state's horrible with the mail-in ballots, but I keep saying what the enemy tries to do to thwart us, we can use for good. Everything that the enemy tries to do for bad, we can use for good. So it's like, yeah, ballot harvesting.
Yeah.
And stuff, but you need about is like, you have a great volunteer. We have a great volunteer in our state that's like that too. She's 80 and she will make like 1,000 calls a day. She's the best. And she knows more than anyone. Like, she's probably the best consultant out there, because she's talking to the people. As long as you're talking to the people and following up with them, you can make huge progress fighting all the establishment monsters.
Well, here's there were so many unsung heroes, just people that stepped up without being asked.
Yeah.
Like one guy has a printing business, and he gave me a call. He goes, I just had an idea here. He said, it's money's an issue. It's Ethan has lots of it. Scott doesn't have much money. Ethan's blasting on all these mailers. Why don't you target it as follows? Reduce the list down to households which have 2 or more likely voters and who are Republicans, and send them a letter and a poll card.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we did that, and that might have been what made the difference. I don't know. Maybe it was Pat Sterling, knocking on hundreds of doors. I think it was all of it added up.
I love like out of the box ideas. Like with one of the campaigns I was working on, we're getting close, and it's when you have all the yard sign mania going on. And I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put a post on my social media, because I had a pretty good social media following in the local area at the time. And I said, I'm going to tell people that I have a car full of yard signs, and I'll come to your door with it, and I'll help you put it in your yard, and I'll come shake your hand, and I'll take a picture with you. So my whole thing was, I'll give you a yard sign, but I want a picture with you. And so I went to my phone exploded. I immediately was like, oh my God, what did I just do to myself? I remember it was like near Thanksgiving, and my family's like, oh, so we're just not going to see you for 4 days. I'm like, oh my gosh. I was tracking, how do I get to all these houses in 8 hours? And I'm like, I gotta make sure I'm not driving across town. Like I was tracking my map, like I was a truck driver, making stops. But it was one of the most rewarding things I ever did, because I'd go up to the door, I'd meet them, I'd shake their hand, I'd talk to them, I'd give them a hug. We would go find where they want the yard sign. I'd have my cowboy boots in, and I put the yard sign down with them, and we took a picture with their kids, with their dogs. And so I ended up having hundreds of photos that I was putting online. That's the kind of stuff that like people like to see, like real people, not just fake.
Thank God for modern technology. If this was your days, you wouldn't have had enough film.
No, that's my point. What I'm always saying about the disrupting machine in consulting, and it sounds like you and your crew did it, and that's what in Oklahoma Charity's done too, is thinking outside of the box. I always say your 15-year-old knows more about how to reach an audience than most adults do, because they know how to put a photo out there or a video out there. It's like, if we were to harness simple things that we have now that we didn't have 20 years ago, we don't need millions and millions of dollars to run campaigns. We just need to connect with real people and find them where they're at, which some of that is being smarter with our digital space. And you're seeing the grassroots candidates know that and embrace that better than these establishment guys. The establishment guys, they want the millions of dollars, because the lobbyists, it's a whole slush fund. The corrupt consultants want the $1 million, because that's how they make their money. And then it all goes around and around and around. So they don't want to disrupt the millions of dollars. I love to come in and say, we can run your campaign for a fraction of that. Yeah, and that pisses off the other consultants big time when I say that.
Yeah, that's an idea I was trying to get kicked off around here, a multi-county effort, and we haven't quite gelled on that yet. But I'd like to revisit that whole notion of.
We should talk, Chet, about how we've done that in Oklahoma. The counties are very much in communication here, and it's really been helpful. And the grassroots have replaced the consultants in several races, and so. Andrea, did you see I put that? I don't know if you can show that picture.
Oh, let me see here. Let me grab it.
It's in the chat. I don't know if you'll be able to do it. I put it as a pathway.
Oh, okay. You could probably, can you share your screen too? Let me find it.
It wouldn't yeah, I can, but it wouldn't come up as one of the options.
I'll see if I can grab it.
So yeah, anyway, I'm not technically savvy and my 17-year-old is not home to show me how to work it. I could probably pull in my 10-year-old. She could probably figure it out, but
we can always post it to our Substack later too.
2 p.m. Fridays. They need to be home from now on.
I know, right? I know, this is the deal. I need you here to help me. Well,
Yeah,
Chet,
sure.
I appreciate everything you do. You've continued to impress us with the work that you get done in Pennsylvania.
It's not me. It's not me. There's a whole team of people.
That's how it always is.
It's all these folks standing up.
We can't do it one at a time. We have to do it together. But someone has to lead the effort, and you've done a fantastic job of doing that. Thank you for that. You've agreed to stick your head above the sand, which means it's going to get shot at, and you're okay with that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. Stay on with this, but guys, I want to talk to Daryl. I don't know how to say it. I've just been calling him Daryl Daughtry. So they've been fighting, as you know. We've got a big issue here, Chet. You probably dealt with them some too. We're dealing with DHS in different areas in Oklahoma.
Okay.
And Daryl has been fighting them along with our friend Mandy Reed, which I know you got along with really well, Andrea.
Mm-hmm.
But I want them to tell their story and what's going on. They were putting together a petition to deal with a judge, if I remember correctly. Welcome, Daryl.
Okay, his camera's not on yet though. It was on earlier.
Daryl, are you still in? Maybe we're not talking to Daryl today.
Yeah, Daryl might have ran away.
Here, but Daryl might have left. He may be coming back next week. Let's see.
He may be rounding some people up.
Yeah.
Oh,
He did seem like he was working and busy.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Okay, so
He's still in our little circle. I just don't see his camera on yet. So you just let me know if he comes back.
okay, well, I guess we're not going to talk about that. That's hilarious. Okay, well, I did have our friend, a member of Sheriff Mac's team, reached out to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and was talking to me about this I think it's Dr. Joseph Lombardi.
Mm-hmm.
And he really wants to help. He helps many of our Patriot friends. He can talk more about it, but he helps them deal with the IRS. I'm not sure if you guys are aware that Patriots may or may not be targeted from the IRS. And so I wanted to talk to him. He can give us some helpful hints and tell us what he's up to.
All
so
right.
let's welcome Joseph to the show. Hey, how are you?
Hey, thanks for having me on.
So I was like, okay, Joseph, I need you to tell me your background. And then you just like kept going. And it's so impressive. It was like it kept going. So I need you to tell our audience a little bit about where you came from and what you're up to.
Yeah, so I'm the owner and founder of Ironhawk Financial. I've been in business for 23 years. I've won 42 industry awards. I've been featured in International Business Times, Business Insider, Market Insider, the Daily Caller, the Marquis Who's Who for the Congressional Library. I'm on the cover of many publications like the Who's Who in Building Construction, and shockingly, the Who's Who, the top 40 under 40, and then the Who's Who in Building Construction. So I've also written 3 books that are all 5-star rated on Amazon: Being Your Own Bank, There's a Better Way Than a 401k, and Long-Term Care Without Long-Term Pains. I have over 4,000 clients, over $4 billion protection rollovers in my career, 5-star rated on Google, A+ rated on the Better Business Bureau. And I basically got into this business, unfortunately, watching my dad fall 3 stories off a ladder, losing a $27 million construction company, JV Lombardi Builders. Shortly after that, my mother passed away at 52 years old, cirrhosis of liver with no life insurance. And then about a year after that, my grandmother had a stroke, led to dementia. In a matter of 7 years, she lost $4.2 million to a nursing home. So I realized that like somebody like my father was very wealthy, didn't have a financial foundation, and he was a patriot, conservative Republican. And I said, how many other of these are out there? So, I was 19 years old and I was supposed to be in construction. And I just said, you know what? I'm going to help blue collar entrepreneurs. I'm going to go after the patriot market, the hardworking, the backbone of America, the people that are the forgottens, that we make the country run, but we're not glitz and glamour and pretty and We're not polished and white coat and narcissists and sociopaths. So I said, you know what? Let me start my business. So I started chasing trucks on the highway. My nickname was the dog because I would drive really fast on I-95. And as soon as I saw a contractor vehicle, John's Plumbing, ABC Electric, I would be like, hey, my father was JV Lombardi builder. He fell. Can I buy you a cup of coffee at the next Dunkin' Donuts and protect your family and save you money on taxes? And so that sort of evolved over the last almost quarter century. And I really started growing, getting momentum, building nationally, a company. And the stepping stones that I've got on my way to where I am now, it's been nothing but God's energy. I can't explain it. I came from nothing. I grew up in an attic, had no running water. My mom, divorced at 4. She wanted to murder me before I was born, but my dad was pro-life. Thank you, Dad. He just passed 1-1 this year. So it's one of those things where, my why is very strong. And when your why is strong, you don't do it for selfish reasons. You do it because you actually give a crap about people and you want to follow the Bible, which is treat thy neighbor as thyself, treat thyself as thy neighbor. And when you look at the Bible, what's talked about the most, right? Money. So then I saw the attack on the Patriots. I saw what the establishment was doing. I saw in 2010 when they came out with the Dodd-Frank Act, which they can just wipe your bank account clean. I see how they target people because I work with thousands of people in this industry. So I said, what can people do to protect themselves from the government that's supposed to be their subordinates, but yet we're the peasants and now we're the government's subordinates. So when you understand like where we're at, you have to go to what the ultra wealthy do. You can't do 401ks, IRAs, SEP simples, pensions, deferred comp, Roth IRAs, brokerage accounts. That's not where it's at. That could be sued, that could be taken, that could be frozen. So I said, well, wealthy people, they don't put their money in banks, right? And then I looked up something called BOLI, BOLI, bank-owned life insurance. Then I realized banks don't even keep their money in banks. And then I was like, so they have us put their money there. They have the rules. Then I'm seeing tens of millions of Americans putting money in 401ks. And I'm like, wait, why would someone handcuff their money to their 59.5, then be forced to take their money out 73, then have Wall Street steal over 50% of their contributions over 30 years, and then have Uncle Sam steal 50% of their distributions in retirement? And I'm sitting there like, this is insane. People are getting like 20% of their money. And so, I worked in Wall Street. I worked in investments. I worked in insurance. I worked in financial planning. I worked with estate planning attorneys, Fortune 500 companies, celebrities, sports athletes, last name helps a little bit. And so I really just grew in this space. And I said, you know what? It's cool working with very wealthy people and making a boatload of money, but I'm not really helping. I said, so let me go after the Patriot market. So I met with the woman you're referring to, Terry, wonderful woman, worked with her for years. She's absolutely amazing. She's gotten me on podcasts that I can't even believe I'm on, not only on, but I sponsor with them and they're promoting me. So it just keeps growing and growing and growing because the bottom line is what? If you want the information, right? Government colluded with Wall Street. I work there. I was in Wall Street. They colluded about 45 years ago. And when that happened, it totally destroyed the last bit of the IRS code, which if you ask a million people what a 401k is, nobody knows what it is. It's an IRS code. And I said, okay, we have these things called IRS codes that people can purchase or use or get into. And I said, okay, we have 403B, we have 457, we have college savings 529. Those are all really high. And then I started really looking at the codes and talking to wealthy people. And they're like, yeah, I use code 7,702. And I'm like, wait, 401k, 401, 7,000? So this one's buried in the IRS code book. Then I found out that this strategy is sue-proof. It's divorce-proof in some states. Cannot be liened. It works as a trust. You can't lose money. It's averaging over 10% tax-free annual returns. You can lien the money out. And I'm like, why? So I started just telling everybody when I found this out. And everyone's like, oh, it's a scam. Why doesn't everybody do it? Sounds too good to be true. But I'm thinking if I was a millionaire and billionaire and I can just buy whatever I want from congressmen, because, senators, they're just for hire. They should wear NASCAR jackets with all the different companies that they are taking money from and breaking the law. But when you look at what's going on, you see this strategy is real. And then you're like, oh, well, Joe, I don't have millions of dollars, because I have clients give me 50 million, 100 million. And I'm like, can this work on $500 a month? Yep. Can this work on like an old 401k rollover for like 20, 30, 50 grand? Yep. And I was like, oh. So I said, okay, we get paid a percentage. So of course, if I was financially smart, I would just go after rich people and buy a yacht and live. But God doesn't care about how much money you have in your briefcase when you die. He cares about how many people you affected positively. So I really started forcing myself into these markets. And people started realizing, wow, this guy's not full of what. This guy's not hurting me. I've never lost a client $1 in 23 years. I never charged a client $1 in 23 years. It's free. And so I basically just built this huge conglomerate. I call it the Iron Hawk Army, where we just go out there and we re-educate, because the government owns the educational system. The educational system tells you to invest with the government. And then the government says monopolies are bad, but they're the most demonic monopoly on the planet.
Thank you.
Thank you. So when you look at what's going on, and I can free people, like literally, like think of it visually, like chains from Wall Street on one arm and Uncle Sam on the other, and I free people. I kick out Wall Street. I kick out Uncle Sam. And I allow people to have tax-free accounts that they can leverage and lean. Don't have to worry about taxes going up. Don't have to worry about the market going down. Don't have to worry about inflation and interest rates go up, because you actually make more money. So it basically allows my clients. I just got off the phone with a client on God that was like, I'm selling my houses. I'm putting even more money. It's been me for a couple of years. Like, I wish I put it all in. So, I mean, these are things that work, okay? You're talking about 180 years of documented success. Never lost $1. Survived the Civil War. Survived World War I. Survived World War II. Survived the Great Depression. So when you look at it, never needed a bailout. Never lost money. So I said, why don't I take this information? Let people know. So I wrote books on it. I'm in articles. I'm in publications. And I'm getting this information out as fast as I can. I offer it for free, to all listeners. That's why I go on many, many podcasts. And I say, hey, listen, you want the information? You don't have to work with me. It's cool. I mean, if you do, I'm not going to charge you a penny anyway. But you don't have to work with me. Just look into it, because you're doing the right thing. You're doing it the wrong way. The establishment has programmed you to invest with them, so them and their crony buddies could steal all your money, which is what you're trading your time for, which is your most valuable asset, away from your children, your spouse, away from your hobbies. So it's so vitally important to have a solid foundation. What are you going to do when you can't take care of yourself? Well, you know what the government has in store for you? They're going to take your old butt. They're going to throw you in a 10 by 10 jail cell. You're going to have a stranger feeding you. You have a stranger taking care of you. And if you don't like them, you cannot fire them. You are in jail with a stranger that is next to you, that's blasting the Mets game till 2 a.m. And there's nothing you can do about it. So I said, how many people are doing this? And I look it up. It's millions. And then they put you on Title 19. You know what they leave you? $1,200 and $60 a month from Social Security. I had some of my clients getting $7,000, $8,000 a month combined Social Security. They get $120. I'm like, wait, what? Where's all their money going? It's being stolen. Yeah. So if you fail to plan, your plan is to fail. So this is something that nobody wants to do. Nobody wakes up and is like, oh, how's my long-term care portfolio going to do on a Thursday morning? We don't think about it. We don't face our mortality as a culture. We don't face our morbidity as a culture. So I said, how do I get this strategy into clients' hands? They don't want, they need it, but they don't want it. I said, what if I can make them money? What if I could save them millions of dollars in taxes, interest, market losses? They can't lose. Market could drop 30 points. Nothing. So when you look at it, I went out there and I just grassrooted, networked, alignable home shows, you name it, CBNAs, BNIs, and I grew because people are starting to wake up to infinite banking, be your own bank, rich person's Roth, right? There's 2 articles on Forbes from 2018, from 2020, written by CPAs, written by public accountants. So this strategy is real. It just scares people. It's like, no, I'm just going to stay in the traditional investment and just get screwed because I know the devil I know is better than the one I don't. And it's like, There's a better way than what you're doing. And like, I put my reputation and career on it.
Well, amen. And this space right now with everyone like gold, I mean, the great awakening that we've lived through in the last 6 years, so much of it's tied into people understanding the Federal Reserve and what happened, what is it, 1913 or whatever, like all, like they're starting to understand how deep this devil rot is in every area of our society. And so what I love about it is people are, they're concerned about their CBDCs. They're concerned about all the digital currencies. They want to know what crypto does. Everyone now is like, okay, well, if the whole thing just goes up in smoke, where does my money go and how do I protect it? And so what I love is the Great Awakening sounds like it's aligning with your hard work that you were doing before it. I'm sure they're easier to this discussion than they were 6 years ago. And they're probably coming in going, oh yeah, I know it's all a crock. Get me out of it. Like, help me.
I actually cash out over $100 million a year of gold and silver.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that can lose value, as we saw gold the last month drop 40%, right? My strategy can't lose. So it's one of those things where if you want preservation of capital, you want growth to cover inflation, you want liquidity to lean your money.
Yeah.
Right? If you think of something like Elon Musk, he has two choices if he needs to buy a SpaceX rocket, right?
Yeah.
Sell $200 million of Tesla stock, pay $100 million in taxes, lose the growth on the $200 million of Tesla stock he no longer owns because he sold it, net the $100 million by the rocket. That's what hundreds of millions of Americans do.
Yeah.
What Elon does, and so do all my clients, is he'll take $100 million of Tesla stock, bring it to a bank, get what's called a collateralized assignment, known as a loan or a lien. Well, loans are legally tax-free. He nets the $100 million, still owning the asset. The asset historically earns more than the loan rate he's paying the bank. So now he has a negative interest rate of return. So in the course of 6 years, instead of losing hundreds of millions of dollars, he made tens of millions of dollars on the same strategy and got $100 million tax free legally. So these are the things that people are not learning. And it's like they know Derek Jeter's batting average. They know, how many points, their favorite basketball player scored last week. They know their fantasy team. But they have no idea what their 401k is, what they're invested, what the hell a 401k is. And yet they're giving away 10% of their money to it because their company's matching them. Like, you really think there's something called free lunch? No. So when you get your free money, it's not free. Because the government is doing to your dollars, as it did to Medicare, as it did to Social Security, as it did to our $40 trillion in debt. They're leaning your dollars that are handcuffed for decades so that they can enrich themselves and keep you as a slave because your Social Security number is your slave number. So it's just freeing yourself, getting the government the hell out of your life, getting Wall Street the hell out of your life, and putting more dollars into your family. Not just for your quality of life, but for your legacy, for your kids and grandkids. Look how harder life is now than it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
10 years ago is easier than it was 20 years ago. As 20 years ago is easier, it's only getting harder. So if we don't set up strategies, not even to protect ourselves, what are your kids going to do? They can't buy houses. They're $250,000 in debt going to the slave. They're being told at 16, 17 years old to go $250,000 in debt to learn from people who can't.
Yeah.
That's the American dream, to get out of college with $250,000 in debt and a worthless piece of paper. It doesn't do anything. And now you can't buy a house, can't start a family. You can't become a patriot. The Bible's goal is harder and the devil wins. And so we have to free people. And it starts, unfortunately, with finance, which nobody wants to talk about. Don't talk about politics, don't talk about money. Why is it that way? Because the politics control everything, and then the money controls everything. So why is it don't talk about politics or don't talk about religion or money? It's because those are the most important things. Talk about the weather, talk about sports. So who the freak cares about some guy who takes a piece of leather and throws it through a hoop 700 miles away from where I live? And people are like, oh, did you see that? That was, and it's like, what are you doing? And your kids are going to suffer. It just, I'm sorry, I'm ranting, but it just drives me insane the way our culture is, and the patriots are the ones that are going to fuel this movement. They're the ones that are awake. They're the ones that can critically think. They're the ones that don't watch CNN and Fox News. And, oh, CNN said chop my right arm off. So guess where I'm going? To the doctors to chop my right arm off because the stranger reading the teleprompter on CNN told me to. Right.
Well, and it's also the social media. Like you and I could probably do like a 6-hour podcast where neither of us breathe because we could just go back and forth. But I was just, I was reading some articles this morning about, we're talking about the birth rate collapsing too. People aren't having babies. And a lot of it has to do with, and I think it was like, because Megyn Kelly had it on her show, and I think it was on 60 Minutes. It's like they're not like, honestly, they were talking about sex too. They're not having sex. They're not having babies. They're not doing things like that used to be like part of being human. You want to have babies, right? No. It's like 1 in 3 men haven't had sex in over a year and 1 in 5 women or something. And they weren't talking about that. They were talking about what's going on culturally. What are these changes? What are these signals? And they're talking about the cell phones and the dopamine kick. So like you said, they're sitting there watching ESPN on their cell phone, and they're not lifting their heads up and engaging as human beings anymore. And they take these little dopamine hits with their phones. And so it's literally what, the agenda is about, right, Charity? And we talk about it on Freedom Brigades all the time. Look at the 2030 agenda. Look at all these agendas. The one world order who wants to control all of us and enslave all of us and has been doing it very successfully in many, many ways. This is exactly what they want you to be doing. They don't want you to own anything. You're a useless eater. They don't want you basically being a human anymore. And so part of that is restricting your ability to be an entrepreneur. Like I keep saying, I've always been an entrepreneur. I opened my first business when I was 19. And then I was just a serial entrepreneur after that. And I want my kids to inherit that too. I want my kids to be able to open businesses. How are they going to? In the future? Right. There will be no entrepreneurism.
I absolutely love your rant, Joseph.
It was great.
Number one, your animation and your delivery is beautiful. And it's hilarious, but absolutely spot on.
Yeah. I'd just like to say that I'm really glad that I stayed on for this segment. Yeah. Hear your talk, Joe.
You're going to be calling him later. IronHawkFinancial.com.
So,
get with them and get your stuff.
In the green room before the show, we had already decided that Andrea and Joseph were not allowed to hang out in person. They would go to jail or something, and that has only been solidified.
Where do you live?
No, stop. You are not allowed to. You will go to jail.
I'm jumping on a plane right now. I'm going to buy him a beer tonight.
We can invite Chet. He's only the next state up. My sister.
Yeah, I think there's the GoFundMe for bail that we're going to need to get started.
Yeah.
Before they're allowed to hang out.
Hey, it's going to be a peaceful, fun party while everything's on fire.
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious. Joseph, thank you for doing this. Thank you for putting it out there for the Patriots for free. This is amazing. Go to ironhawkfinancial.com. We do not partner with him. This is not something, usually when I give you guys something, it's something we've partnered with. This is just, the Patriots need this. America needs this. It's truth. Go to ironhawkfinancial.com. Check out what he's got to say. Hire him. But regardless, thank you for bringing us that truth. I look forward to bringing you back on the show just so I can sit back and let you rant, because that is entertaining all by itself. But I greatly appreciate you. Do you have any final words on?
Yeah, so there's a couple, right? Number one, if you want all my content for free, books, articles, magazines, website, webinar, everything, absolutely free, just send an email to info@ironhawkfinancial.com. That's it. It'll automatically generate an email to go out. Need your name, phone number, and a little bit about yourself if you want to meet with us. If you just want the info, just put just want info, and there's no obligation whatsoever. So I'm just trying to get this information out, right? Number two, it's so vitally important nowadays to understand we have 5 selves. We have a spiritual self, a mental self, an emotional self, a physical self, and all those are multipliers to your financial self. And how do I know that? Is because I lived where Jesus wasn't my all. Dollars were. When I had 3 kids, my wife didn't work. I was so stressed out. I chased dollars for decades. And a few years ago, I found Jesus. I put him there. Holy crap. I went from making hundreds of thousands to millions without even trying. And I realized that like we try to fight for something. And it's like sometimes, I'm not saying like sit back, be lazy, do nothing like a liberal. What I'm saying is sometimes you need to like take a step back and you need to let life happen. Yes. And you need to pray. And again, I don't want to be a Jehovah's Witness, but I'm just telling you my life, right? I shed so many demons and lived an insanely better life when Jesus is now on my shoulders 24/7.
Well, and God, I was just talking to someone about a big multi-million-dollar project they're working on, right? So we're talking about big money. And I said the same thing. I said, God rewards those who he knows when he gives them the means, they will give them back. Like I've always said, I used to joke when I was young and people would say, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like I remember going a philanthropist because I would love to have a ton of money to give to people who need it. I would love to be able to be it. Like I've always said, like I would like to be the good Bill Gates, right? Like Bill Gates is evil, but
Yes.
we need a counterpart that's good. And so God, like I love what you're saying. When you sit back and let it happen, it happens. Because if you're stressed all the time, then you're not believing that he's actually the one in control. Once you go, he's actually in control. He's got it. He does want me to be a good steward and follow where he's sending me, but he's got it. So being super stressful is very sinful because that means you're not giving it up to him, the big guy. The big guy's got it. And then at the end of the day, the big guy gives to those who he knows will be good stewards of that wealth.
Yeah, and case in point, people win the lottery.
Mm-hmm.
They're broke. Sports athletes get
Yes.
hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
They're not even broke. They're bankrupt.
Yeah.
So there's a falsehood that everyone needs to understand. Doesn't matter how much money you make. I have clients who make millions of dollars a year and their net worth is negative.
Yep.
I have clients, husband and wife, make $80,000 a year. Their net worth is $5 million.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about how you treat God's blessings. Some people use it to try to make strangers they don't know who don't like them jealous. And other people use it to try and build a strong foundation for their children, grandchildren, and leave a legacy for the people they love. And you could do whatever you want. God gave us free will. You can go to him, you could turn him away. But again, when this is over, there's judgment day. So you have to understand that if you do the habits and if you care about growing yourself on all 5 plateaus, God is going to reward you. And it's going to reward you in so many ways. My eyes have been open. I've lost my CFO, my CMO, my photographer, my videographer. People were stealing from me. And I was just so blind to it because I was into it. And then I prayed to God, like, show me. And oh my God, I saw everything. And I was like, uh-oh. So like, I'm like, I got to rebuild. It's not I fixed it. But like, we have a lot of demons in our lives. We have a lot of two-faced people in our lives. And you have to pray to God to say, show them to me. As hard as it is, could be even your own spouse, something I'm dealing with currently. So these are things that you have to really understand, that when you look at what's going on financially, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, these are things you have to address, and you have to fight them in a way to change a habit. And so I'll leave it. I can go for hours and hours and hours. I sometimes do 4 or 5 hour podcasts. But my last message is, I love you all. If you're fighting for the goodness of your neighbor, if you're doing the right thing for the people you love, if you're coming from a place from your heart, you're not a selfish sociopath narcissist like most people are that are running the world and in high level places, then God bless you. And keep fighting the good fight. And thank you what you're doing in Pennsylvania. As a little thing as, oh, it's just a county, those things, as you were saying, snowball. And we're winning against the establishment when we keep going. We don't stop. A little win is a win. Mm-hmm. And we just have to compound, the 6th wonder of the world. Compound, get together, grow, ask, become friends, get demons out of your life, and find people with high vibration, high frequency, positive light that share your values, share your morals, share your ethics. And my 4th book coming out is 7 + 7 = 20. And that's where a 7 and a 7 can come together, meaning I'm missing 3 things, they're missing 3 things. I fill the 3 things they're missing, they fill the 3 things I'm missing. Therefore, a 7 can turn me to a 10, and I can turn a 7 to a 10. Therefore, a 7 + a 7 = 20. And I'm going to put a lot of money behind that book. So I think it's going to be very, very appealing and motivating to people to band together. We got to stop letting the enemy divide us by age, race, gender, new thing.
Amen.
We have to stop, by religion, by sports teams. I've seen videos of a Cowboys fan getting their butt kicked by an Eagles fan.
Oh, I know, it's horrible.
Like, what? Like, we really need to band together. As you said, the enemy has been winning the battles. Mm-hmm. But if we come together, there is no way we lose the war.
Yeah. And that everyone who's stressed, like, again, I'm talking about stress and people wanting to be in control, because people yesterday were very depressed in my life with stuff going on politically. We're watching the elections in California and things like that. And they're like, how do you stay in this realm, this political space where you're constantly keeping up with it and it not just completely depress you? And I always say, you're not being a good Christian if you're really stressed about what's happening 10 feet down the runway. Like, I'm looking just right in front of me and I'm taking a success one bite at a time. I'm looking at what God wants me to see right now. I'm not worried. He's got tomorrow. Mm-hmm. When you're anxious and when you're stressed, you aren't living in your faith the way God intended you. He still put us in paradise. Don't forget it. You're in paradise.
If you live in the future, you live in anxiety. If you live in the past, you live in depression. If you live in the present, that is the gift God gave to you in the present. Right. And it's like a birthday or Christmas. The present is the only thing you can make changes in. Mm-hmm. You can't go back and change things. You can't predict and make change in the future. Mm-hmm. Live in your present. Work on your 5 selves, build a strong foundation, enrich yourselves with people, positive self-talk, fill the hole in your heart with love and Jesus, not money, drugs, and porn, like most people do. Mm-hmm. And if you do those things, you can elevate your light. And the brighter light you are, look where I'm at, around cool people. Because I elevated my light bright enough where Terry identified it to bring me here. Mm-hmm. And so I hope I can at least affect one person positively, because I'm using my valuable asset, my time, as both you are and he is. It's so important to listen presently, make changes, and grow. That's what this life's all about.
And don't be anxious. People are so depressed right now. There's so much darkness in mine and Charity's space. Yeah, there's a lot of people who are stressed and depressed right now. And I always go, I'm really optimistic because God's got it, y'all. Like, God's got it.
We're going to go on for another hour if I don't break in here.
She's like, y'all got to shut up.
This is an hour show. But you guys, he's right. This is a spiritual battle. We're fighting it out on this battleground. It's up to us to bring heaven to earth. Faith without works is dead. We say it all the time on this show. We have to act. So you must pray. Please don't do any of these things without praying. But you can't just pray. Pray, listen, and then act. You guys, taking back this republic is going to be how you take back your community. First, you take back your community, then you take back the republic, and we work together. Join the Freedom Brigades. It takes 4 hours a month of your time for you to take back your community. We'll help you do that. We'll connect you with other patriots. It's free. Just like Joseph was saying, we're not trying to make a living on this either. We are just trying to save this republic. And it's up to you. This is a republic built on we the people. So you all, thank you very much, and we will see you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye.